One-foot-flipper.
Hey everybody, Paige here, the 1 Foot Flipper. How's it going? I'm doing okay. I'm going to be honest, this is mostly going to be a what sold video covering probably a solid week. There's a couple of days I didn't record or some things that got shipped and never mentioned, but you'll be getting most of a week in there. Don't have a whole lot of news other than keeping a steady 2,000 item store has really made balancing my work and life much easier. Like at the moment, I know I have 25 drafts all ready to go, all ready to launch. I have 2,000 items exactly in my store. I've got some things to be listed right here. It's got some remains of the cards to still list. I've been putting them up in big lots. Most of them are already gone, but there's still some left. And it's much easier now because I know when to stop working. Like I was done before 9 a.m. this morning other than shipping. I have 5 sales to ship, but I won't ship those till evening in case there's more to ship. Hopefully there'll be more to ship. It's only like 11 something now, so hopefully a few other items will sell. One other thing I have to say to note is I finally got monetized on Facebook. That is really taking off. I might stop doing shorts on YouTube altogether because I'm really only doing shorts and posts on Facebook, and they are getting much better results on Facebook than they ever got on my channel. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. If you use Facebook, why don't you go ahead and like or subscribe or whatever to that 1 Foot Flipper page on Facebook. You know, it's free and it'll help me out. Let's look at a whole bunch of sales. Okay, let's do a few sales. I sold this Cremo set of white sunglasses for $10.87. I don't remember where I got these at all. So if you know, let me know in the comments where I got them, because I don't remember. Sold this NHRA hat, only $5.82. It is vintage, 2001, but it's pretty stained up. That's why it was so cheap. Apparently somebody had really wanted it and had been watching it though, because I ended it and sold similar today. I do about 50 of those a day now. Things that were going to end anyway. And about 10 minutes later, I got a message from, I guess, somebody who had been watching it or something. Said, "Did you sell it? Is it gone? Can you put it back up? Can I buy it?" And so I sold it to him. I sold this Blood Bowl figurine. Blood Bowl is a fantasy football game. Not fantasy as in you're picking your real players, but fantasy as in, you know, goblins and orcs and such. This is a Skaven. That's a Ratman player. He's metal, which means he's from the 80s or the 90s. $8.54 plus shipping. I sold this Career Beauty School cosmetology case. Vintage. It's got a few accessories inside. I love buying stuff like this because this would have cost me $3 at the Goodwill outlet. Maybe even, yeah, probably would have been $3. Could have been $5. What did I get for it? I got $25.19 for it, but Paige, just takes up so much space. But I used this as a location. Until today, this was stuffed with hats. Then it sold. And I took all the hats out. And I pulled up their SKU on eBay. On the website, you can't do that this on the phone app, but I pulled it up on the website. And 20 seconds later, I had changed all those hats' location to the box that I added them to. Easy. Only other thing I sold today was the ETF SLVR, which is a silver-related ETF. I sold it again. I've purchased it and sold it several times this month, overall making a 50% return. You can't do that with silver in your closet though, can you? Anyway, sold it again at a $405 profit. Yeah, everybody thinks I'm stupid for not having physical silverware in my closet. Physical silverware didn't get you a 50% return in the last 10 days, did it? No, don't think so. All right, let's move on to the next segment. Okay, let's do a few sales. After 2 or 3 absolutely wretched days of sales, I finally have a good day again. I'll throw a picture up for this because it's upstairs. I sold a A lot of 14 Louis L'Amour Western books, leather bound, $54.67. I got these at the bins. Books are 40 cents per inch there, so I had about $6 into it. Not bad, and really not all that hard to ship either. Another book set that's upstairs, this Dark Age Miniatures RPG book set, $16.19 for the 3 brand new rule books. My buy cost on those was about 35 cents per set. Sorry, 35 cents per book, so $1 per set. I believe I bought 20 sets of them. It took a long time before the first one sold, but I'm finally selling one every couple months now. Not bad. I have room on my bookshelves for them, so it was no big deal. Rawlings Mike Trout Youth Ball Glove, $5.60. One of the cheaper things left in my store now. Put this up on the screen. I got these from John Ceramic. He picked them up because he thought they were interesting and I might be able to sell them. He got me a lot more than the ones that you see here, but I made about 4 lots out of them. A lot of 6 canvas posters, Kobe Bryant, Martin Luther King, some various athletes and such. I tried to group them by possible interest. I think this might have been the leftovers group. Either way, sold in one day, $26.88 plus shipping. I've had these for a while. Set of Bushnell Featherlight binoculars. Nothing wrong with them, it's just people don't like binoculars as much as they used to, I don't think. Or I priced them wrong, or my shipping was too high. Probably all 3. I don't share the shipping discount, so sometimes when I've got a more common item, if I don't underprice it, it takes a bit to sell. It's got to get to a markdown or 2 before it actually sells. $34.01 plus shipping. I'll make money on the shipping. I pretty much always do on smaller, heavier items. I'm glad I finally sold this because people were driving me nuts on the message. A Richard Caruso molecular hair setter. I did not want to test this. I did not want to put the salt in the water and see if it worked right. And I don't, how am I ever going to know if it's really working? I don't know. So I priced it at the value of the accessories. And every 2 days, I would get somebody wanting me to test it. And somebody finally just bought it. $24.19 plus shipping. Got this Michigan Lighthouses poster, $12 plus ship. I would have got this at the bins. My buy-in cost would have been about 15 cents or so. Oh, today I finally went through, unrolled all the rest of my unlisted posters, sorted a few into the there's no way this is ever going to sell, so those will all go into one lot, and I got all the rest of them in drafts. And honestly, they varied in price from about $9 up to $1,000. Yeah, there's a $1,000 one. It's an art print. I did a short about it already. You might have seen the short. So I finally gotten through that part of my death pile. There's not much death pile left. One of the last things left from the giant wargaming buy, I did my very first year, I think, of reselling it, or full-time reselling, even before my channel. A lot of 9 resin metal German Panzer II tanks, $26.24. I had to do a lot of price guessing with that stuff. With most of it, I priced it extremely high and then lowered it fairly frequently because it was just impossible to identify the stuff. I mean, yes, I could Google image the tanks and put them into groups and whatever else, but figuring out what brand they were and everything else, it was crazy difficult. I sold most of them off one tray at a time in the foam storage trays that they have, and I'd start every tray at $100, and every week I'd lower the price of all the trays by like $10 until they hit that sweet spot and they'd sell. And oh boy, did I have a lot of trays of them. All right, that's all the sales I've got for today. Let's move on to the next segment. Okay, let's do a couple of sales. First, I sold a couple of art prints. I'm going to put them on the screen because it's awkward to unroll them and I've already packed them. I sold this Betsy Nymock Quilt Celebrations advertising art print, $39.87. It had been up one day. Somebody probably have that in their save search. Just waiting for one to pop up because there was none in eBay history. With a lot of these art prints like this, these one-of-a-kind things, you kind of just have to price guess. A lot of times I set a price of $39.87. They cost me almost nothing. It's a huge profit. So I'm perfectly happy with it. A lot of people guess way too high on this stuff and then they're sitting on it for the rest of their lives. Speaking of, the next one, this Eidolon Read-On Prince of Dreams 1994 Art Institute of Chicago poster. It's on thick board though, so it's not really a poster. I had this up at 71 based on a single comp that it sold, I think, a couple of years ago. But nobody had ever messaged me about it. I got an offer for it today for 44, and I just took the offer because all these things are waiting for unicorn customers. They can have huge swings in price from one sale to another, and I'd rather take $44 on an item that cost me under $1 than never get a higher price. What else? What else do we got here? Let's see. Got a couple things to actually show you. This Atlantic mold Smiley Scout hiker. I added as many keywords as I could. I put in Smiley Boy because he looks like a smiling boy. I put in German. I put in garden. I put in elf because he kind of has a little bit of an elfish look. He sold $16.19. He would have been under $1 at the Goodwill outlet, and I'm going to make money on his shipping for sure because I don't share the shipping discount, so I usually make money on heavy compact items on shipping. Sometimes I still eat it every once in a while on something big, though. This sold in 1 or 2 days, a Rep Gaming metal deck box. You could just about put your card deck in this and throw it out of an airplane, and it would survive. These are $25 brand new. You can still buy them. I put mine up at $16.87 plus ship, and it sold in 1 or 2 days. And it's been a slow day, so that's all I got for this section. Okay, let's do some sales. I'm kind of time crunched today, so I'm not carrying 20 items over to the bar and setting them all up there and doing it fancier. That would take me an extra 10 minutes, and I don't even know if I have an extra 10 minutes today. Sold this vintage 1980s, possibly early 90s Party Cove hat. This is some mythical location in the Lake of the Ozarks. I always used to hear teenagers talk about this back when I was a teenager, like they were going to some party zone on boats that was hundreds of miles away from here. But it sold $13.38. Took about 4 months. Lucilla Christmas at the North Pole craft kit, $10.60. Not bad. I'll put it up on the screen because I'm not trying to show a 6 foot wide print. Sorry, it's 3.5 foot wide, but I'm not trying to unroll that here. Monet's Year Giverny from the 1978 St. Louis Art Museum exhibit. I think I had this up at 59, but it has a really wrinkled corner, and I think all of these things like this are unicorn items. They are looking for the right customer. Somebody sent me a $33 offer, and I took it immediately. Fact is, the box I shipped that print in cost me more money than I paid for the print. So I am not going to sit around and hope that someday I'll get 50. I'll take the 33 immediately. This is a miniature. This is Mika, female samurai. Oftentimes I don't use the name. Sometimes I just get descriptive as to what they look like and what weapons and armor they have, because a lot of people will search for them that way. And if you use the name, sometimes you find out you're competing against the manufacturer who still has them in stock and might have them on clearance. But I guess that wasn't the case since I actually used the real name. I sold some Warhammer terrain bits. These are all floors to a crypt. It was 3 separate items altogether, $27.51. Obviously, for you to get that much money for little bits of plastic, they obviously have to be out of print, and they are. Okay, I sold another miniature. This is one that I definitely just sold descriptively and did not give the real name of. A vintage plate mail fighter with sword, tower, shield, heavy. D&D metal miniatures, $6.55. I pretty much try to lot my miniatures now so I can get listings at a $10 minimum, but I wasn't always doing that. This sounds like it has silverware inside. Let's hope it does, because that's what it's supposed to be. It didn't actually write anything on the box. Yes, this is a lot of silver plate. At least I hope it's silver plate. Maybe I'm gonna lose my butt on this and some of it's actually silver, but I didn't really pay much for it. $13.63. I'm pretty sure when I bought this stuff, I went through everything and took out everything with a silver marking and sold it separately a long time ago, way before silver went to the moon and then crashed again. I lost $1,400 in one day, by the way, on my silver mining stocks when silver went down the other day. That's okay. Could have been worse. Could have been in my closet, right? Also, the silver mining stocks will just go back up eventually. What else do I got? I sold 2 identical Cabela's hats in one lot for a whole $5.56. Yeah. I know all bad hats now go into big lots. I fill a box up and sell the whole box. I want to flip. I don't want to wait for the $5 someday. I flip the entire box so I can flip that same space 10 times a year instead of letting the hat sit there for $3 to eventually get $5. I sold 9 packs of the Warhammer Age of Sigmar collectible card game. Since this only sold for $6.37 plus shipping, I'm going to guess that this game is either dead, resting, or possibly pining for the fjords. I'm not sure which. This is from Fox Hunter, so he'll get a couple of bucks on his spreadsheet. Sold the Seattle Seahawks hat, $10.64. I would have had 35 cents into it. These are left over from one of my daughter Julie's younger obsessions. These are Zuru mini brands. These are small packages, package versions of items like there's a Marvel action figure, Velveeta. The gold ones are the rares. $49.87. I'm sure we lost a ton of money on that from buying those in the blind bags. Oh, let's knock things over, Paige. Sold an untested Commodore 1541 disk drive. It does power up. That's as far as I can test it. And many times with things like this, you get people just insisting that you test it somehow. And I'm like, I don't have a Commodore computer. I have nothing this can hook up to that I can test it in. And the other thing is the people who want you to test those untested items think that they're then going to get you to test it and make it work and then still get it at the untested price. If you force me into testing something, first thing I'm doing before I tell you it works is I'm raising the price to the tested price. So that person's never buying from you in the first place. I sold a Bucky Beaver for $6.47. These have started showing up in my bins frequently since we finally got a Buc-ee's. Now, we didn't get a Buc-ee's anywhere near us. It's hundreds of miles away, but it's in the same state, and the same Goodwill organization serves that area, and they don't have a bins down there. The two bins for my Goodwill organization are both within 20 miles of each other in the vicinity of my house. So the stuff from hundreds of miles away comes up here. These are below my normal buyout, but they cost me nothing and they always sell, so I don't care. If they only sell for $6.47, it'll go into a poly mailer or a bubble mailer, both of which I get basically for free from one of my sponsors anyway. Sold a Bratz Boy Kobe, $7.99. Okay, I sold this Warhammer Fantasy Cauldron of Blood miniature for $32. I had it up at $37 and some change. They sent a $25 offer. I countered at $32, and eventually, about 12 hours later, they accepted. I've had this for years. This would have been one of my wife's find. A hat trinket box, $7.08, and we found something to put inside as a trinket. If you can literally just add anything to one of these boxes, it helps. We found a little awl, put it inside for a trinket. And I sold and cannot find this Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Greyhawk Castle Heart poster. This suffers from being on the easy shelves, supposedly. Those shelves behind me right there. Since they're up in the main part of the house, they often suffer from things getting moved from one shelf to another. And I can't find it, not where it's supposed to be. I'm going to have to go through all the shelves again. And I also noticed that I'm just loaded down with Pokemon posters on those shelves, and I haven't sold one in 6 months because they've gotten too old. You see, Pokemon collectors, the people purchasing Pokemon products, only seem to care about what's the hottest and newest, most recent stuff, and stuff from 1999, and everything in the middle might as well just be thrown in the trash. It's not that quite that bad, but it seems like it. Those posters used to be selling on a daily basis, and now I haven't sold one in 6 months. You know why? Because it's an older, they have graphics and advertise an older set now, and no one cares about the older set in Pokemon. They only want to buy and open up and display those products that are right now overpriced at their local store, where they open that $150 box, get $20 for the cards, and then maybe they even trade those cards back into the store and get $20 for them, because that's what Pokemon is. So yesterday I got monetized on Facebook, and that's telling me one thing: I can probably stop posting shorts on YouTube altogether. It's getting me new subs, but I don't think the new subs watch the long form video anyway. Well, just 2 days of posting shorts on Facebook, or reels as they call them, show me that that's going to pay me more money than YouTube pays me completely. So I might just separate those out. Do you still want to see my shorts on YouTube? If so, please let me know in the comments. I sold this Magic the Gathering card called Norn the Wary for $13.50. I'm not even going to show it. You don't care. I sold this Wild Hairbrug hat. Hairbrug is a Swiss surveying optical instruments company. You know those guys you see who've got those telescope looking things set up on flat ground measuring stuff? They make that stuff. This hat sold for $31.38 in about 1 week. I had 35 cents into it. I'll put it up here. I sold this American Girl in Italy print by Ruth Orkin. Sold for $44.87 in about 4 days. I've had it for 6 months, but I only listed it 4 days ago. I would have had about 50 cents into that. It did come from the bins. I've had this for years. This is left over from a war game buy like 3-4 years ago. It's a deck of cards for a game called Dust Tactics. $5.30. Finally, sold this PGA Belle Reeve hat for $11.27. And that's all for this sales segment. Okay, I sold this Metal Warhammer Ska the Falconeer painted miniature from 1995. Sold for $9.50. Not too bad. Sold this Star Wars Mandalorian Darksaber. Got this at the bins. I'd had about $2 into it, and it sold for $12.87. And if it ends at 87 cents, you know it didn't get a mark, that it's a fairly recent item that didn't get a markdown, because I do charm pricing at 87 cents now. Here's a good one. I sold and cannot find 7 oil paintings. Yes, my name is Paige, and I lost actually 15 oil paintings. I used to have a large number of unstretched canvas oil paintings. They were all rolled up together. I hadn't sold one in about 2 years. Wasn't sure why until about a week ago I noticed that, oh wow, at some point, probably when Ground Advantage shipping came out, the shipping profiles that got set to an incorrect shipping profile and was charging a fortune to ship them. I set it to the correct shipping profile, and somebody just bought 7 of them. But the problem is, I don't know where they are anymore. I know where they used to be. They used to be rolled up right next to the posters. But I made a poster SKU system. They're not with the posters anymore. They're probably rolled up behind something on some shelf, and I'm going to have to find them. Luckily, the person made multiple purchases and still hasn't paid for their last one yet. I sent them the invoice. They haven't paid for it. So at least I can get out of shipping that today. Of course, tomorrow's going to be busier. Tomorrow's my game night. My daughter has an after-school thing, and there's something else happening. It's the worst. I purchased on eBay and then sold at a loss these Vans Women's Peanuts size 9 shoes. My wife really, really, really wanted these. And they are her size, but apparently they're just a tiny bit too small. So I sold them at a loss. I've never returned a clothing or shoe item to eBay in my life. My wife returns roughly, or we resell roughly 50% of the shoes we buy her on eBay. Usually that's because she likes the specific kind of Nike, the Shox line, and she likes the style they used to make, and half of the ones that she buys start disintegrating the minute she actually tries to wear them. So that's why those are getting returned, but these are just getting returned because they didn't quite fit right. But she also didn't start trying to wear them until well past that free shipping mark. This sold for $9.38, a Fisher Price 302 dump truck. I would have bought this at the bins, and it was not worth it. Let's see what it weighs. Let's see if I took a bath on this. Weighs 2 pounds 10 ounces. I mean, I had about $5.50 into it, sold it for $9.38. There'll be some eBay fees. I'll probably make a little on the shipping. Barely worth it. To a repeat customer, I sold this Warhammer Hero Deep box set, $19.87. And I got somebody who wants to buy 3 bulk boxes of sports cards, but he wants an invoice first. So I got to figure that out. Okay, I got to pack this stuff up and try to look for those paintings. All right, here's a sale I expect to go bad. Got an untested Prowler pool cleaning robot. Sold for parts and repair for $130. And a lot of shipping. And this sold to someone who leaves all their feedback not in English and has left negative feedback for their last 4 transactions. I'm afraid this person is buying things buying parts repair units based off the photos and then getting mad when they don't work or they're not brand new. I'm probably gonna lose a lot of money on this. I sold this Tempest arcade maintenance and service manual for a whole $4.99. It's in pretty bad shape, and you can download PDFs of all these things. I never owned a Tempest out of the hundreds of arcade games that I've owned in the past, but a lot of times you'd find manuals for other games inside the games. That's probably how I got that. Don't really remember where it came from. This is Amigo dinosaur cloth playmat, dinosaur themed at least. I'm not going to unroll it. Sold for $11.58. I was looking at the shipped price on it. These, don't buy these specialty Monopolies. This sold for $5 plus shipping. Yeah, and I bet I had to go and look. It says my listing says complete. That means I counted the pieces, and I paid more than $5 for it going by the weight. I better have got that in a bulk lot. If I actually bought that at the bins, I would just want to slap myself with a big Bertha club cover, which sold for $5.28. These are all mine. They're easy list, easy ship. It's upstairs. Maybe I'll put a picture up there. It's an Optical Designs motion book from the 70s, $8.88. I got that 2 hours after the book boys had gone through at the bins because it didn't have a barcode, so they ignored it. A Warhammer set, Lady Heroes Moonflight. Literally, it's a pack of cards and 4 miniatures. $32.87. Finally, I'll put a picture up since I've already put it in a bag. Big Mr. Potato Head with about 50 accessory pieces, $21.87. I got this at the bins a few weeks ago. It is a Monday, and I'm starting off the week with a big day of bad sales. Sold a lot of 2 new USB sticks. $5.26. A Brake T-Scope knee brace, $17.34. And a Perrin leather camera bag, probably from the 50s or the 60s, $12.51. Matter of fact, half of the money that came in today is going to be spent on shipping. Maybe some stuff will come in later this evening. I hope so. Parker says, thanks for sticking around all the way to the end. If you know anybody else who hangs out in wire cages, why don't you let them know about this channel? We could use the subs.
Forgive me, I don't know his actual name, but his YouTube name is onefootflipper.
So now that it's just us, have you started doing your taxes yet? I have put most of mine into TurboTax now. It looks like I'm going to break about even on federal and get a few hundred back. I'm still waiting on a few pieces of paper or, online PDFs of forms from my various brokerage accounts, but they're not going to change it by very much, which is, I'm glad I'm breaking even. It seems like I either pay in way too much quarterly taxes and end up getting $5,000 back, or I mess it all up and I end up having to pay $5,000. This year's the break-even year. Maybe I'll try to do a little better on paying the right amount this year so I can be sure to have another break-even year. If you got anything about taxes, why don't you put it in the comments so we can all see it.